The Deadeye mechanic from Red Dead Redemption is a mechanic that lets you choose multiple enemies to kill at once. In today's video we are going to learn how to replicate that mechanic in Unreal Engine 4. First we are going to go into our character's blueprint. In here we are going to get an input action. For me that is going to be called use bound to my E button. You can get one of those by going to edit, project settings, then go to input, and you're going to have to create a new one. From pressed we are going to have a do once, which is going to make sure that we cannot reactivate this while we are using it. From completed we are going to have a sequence, and from then 0 we are going to have a set global time dilation, which is basically going to give us a slow motion effect. So I'm going to have this 3 times slower, and then I'm going to have here a timeline which I already have, and I'm going to go into it a little bit later. But before doing that we are just going to play a little bit with the camera post-process. So camera set post-process settings. From update we are going to make post-process settings, and then we are going to go to color grading, offset as spin, and then we are going to have here vector 4. So what this does is going to set a post-process of our camera, and we're going to only change the offset, and we're going to change the offset based on 4 float values, which are right here for me. Basically what I do with the timeline is that I got 4 float tracks and played around with them, so I get the desired effect with my post process. So all of them start time 0 value 0, and all of them are going to end at time 0.1, and just play with the values as I said, and you should do the same. Alright, and from finished we will need to create a new boolean and set it to be true. So is using Deadeye and boolean set to be true, and now we're going to make something else, and then we're going to continue with this piece of script from here. So another input action, fire bound to my left mouse button. From pressed we are going to check if we are using Deadeye or not, and I only want to be able to shoot while using the Deadeye. From true we are going to have a line trace by channel. From start we are going to get our camera and get a world location of it, get world location, start, then we're going to get the forward vector of our camera, and we are going to multiply this with the float. So vector or float, okay, so vector multiplied by a float. Here we are going to have a pretty big number, let's say 10,000, and then we are going to have here an vector plus vector, right, and then we are going to plug this in the end. The draw debug type is going to be for duration for me, because I want to be able to see it. Then from the return value we are going to check if we hit something or not. That is what the return value checks, and if we did hit something we are going to break the hit result, and from the hit actor we are going to cast to a special blueprint. For me that is going to be enemy Deadeye. That's the character that I'm using for this. Right, then from as enemy Deadeye till now, from here we are going to have a for each loop, right, and we are going to need to create a new variable. I'm going to call this enemy Deadeye array. You can call this as you want, and the variable type is going to be enemy Deadeye. So it's basically going to be the blueprint right here. Alright, and it's going to be an array. I'm going to put this in here, and now we will want to check if any of the array elements are equal to the hit actor. So if that is going to be true, we are going to increment here, so increment integer, but now we don't have one, so let's create one. So new variable, let's call this Deadeye check. And what I'm doing here can be done a little bit easier. I mean, I think it can be done a little bit easier, but this is my preferred way of doing it, because it's simple and quick and still performant. So if what I'm going to hit is going to be equal to any of the elements already existent in our array, we are going to add to this integer 1, and from completed we are going to have a branch, and we're going to check if the Deadeye check is equal to 0. And if that is true, so if what we hit is not equal to any of the elements, then we are going to add to our array. So add true, we are going to add the hit actor. Actually no, we need to add as that I. Alright, and now this should be good, and after that we are going to set the dead eye check to be 0. And now we'll need to continue with our set global time dilation. So after we're going to do that, we're going to have here a delay. And for me, I want a delay of 3 seconds. But now keep in mind that our global time dilation is going to be divided by 3, which means that 3 seconds are going to be 9 seconds, right? So if I want to have 3 real seconds, I need to get here 1, because 1 multiplied with 3 is 3. Alright, so after 3 seconds are going to get passed, we are going to have here a sequence. From then 1, we are going to plug this in reverse. Alright, because we will want to reverse the post-process effect. Then from then 0, we will have to set is using that I to be false. And then we are going to have here a custom event. So add custom event. I'm going to call this reset dead I. As I said at the beginning, we are going to reset this at some point, and this is the time when we are going to reset it. So we are going to call reset dead I. Alright, and then we'll need to have another for each loop. Okay, the array is going to be the one that we just created before. And then what we'll do is from array element, I'm going to call here a custom function that's going to be die. Right, and from completed, we are going to set the array, and we're going to have here a make array, and it is only going to be 0 with nothing. So basically this is going to be an empty set. Let's compile and let's see if this is working or not. Alright, so we are going to activate it. We're going to, and as you can see, it is working, but as you can see, the slow motion effect is not going to go away. So what we need to do is to set a global time dilation back to 1. Right here, 1. Before continuing and seeing if this is working or not, we'll need to make 2 more things to make this work as intended. First, from array element, we are going to have here is valid. This is going to check if the array element is valid or not, because if this is not valid, we might get unexpected results and the game might even crash, which is what we don't want to happen. Right, and then there's one more problem. Here, once we are going to reverse from end, but also one thing, make sure that you're not going to only reverse, you're going to reverse from end. That is going to be the safe way. Then what we need to do is to make sure that here we are not only going to make this to be true, because once the reversing is going to be finished, this is going to be called once again. So what we need to do is to delete this, and then once we are going to set this, we'll need to get its value, negate it, which is going to make, so if it is going to be true, we are going to transform it to be false, and if it is false, we are going to make it true. So by default this is going to be false, and once we are going to activate it, it is going to be false, negate it, that means true, and the final result is going to be true. And then once this is going to be finished, we are going to have this value true, negate it, which is going to make it false, and then we are going to set the final result to be false. So let's check if this is working or not. So as you can see, this is working. Let me make this a little bit longer, so 1 second, because I changed that a little bit. So 1 second, that means 3 seconds in game. And now as you can see, I cannot use the line text anymore. So this is pretty much all for today's video. I hope that you enjoyed it, and if you did, don't forget to leave a thumbs up, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with new videos. Thanks for watching, and I'm going to catch you in the next one. Goodbye.